Welcome to Growing Faith Resources. I'm Katie, a certified Christian educator, and I'm here to help you figure out what's going to work best for your congregation. Today, I want to talk to you about a curriculum called Big God, Big Questions. So let's check it out. So Big God, Big Questions is a curriculum meant for your confirmation program. So this is a curriculum that you'll use with your confirmands. So that is usually your youth who are thinking about becoming members of your congregation. And this curriculum is based on research done by the Confirmation Project, which took a look at a bunch of different churches of all different sizes and said what is working really, really well in confirmation programs that are strong in churches. And so this curriculum is based off of the findings of that research. And if you'd like to know more about that research, I'll leave a link in the description below where you can read more. But this curriculum is designed for youth who are in 8th to 10th grades. However, you could scale it up or down for younger youth or older youth with some adaptations, depending. This curriculum is actually focused on the questions that youth are asked when they join the church. Because it's not like those questions are a big secret, but we really want to make sure that the youth understand what they are saying yes to when they join. And so this curriculum spends a lot of time unpacking that. And it also means that this curriculum does a really great job of meeting our youth where they are. Whether they've just stepped foot in your congregation for the first time today for this class, or if they've grown up in your congregation since before they even knew how to talk. This curriculum really does a great job of meeting them where they are and then taking them to the next step on their faith journey. And so this curriculum has a big relational component and focus, meaning that it's not just about learning stuff. Don't get me wrong, there are things that we should know about the Bible and about who God is, and there are things we should understand. But this curriculum is more about asking the question, are you ready for this next phase of your faith journey? Let's talk about the components. So there are a couple of components that make up this program. First off is the teacher guide. Then we have the big journals, which are for your confirmands. We have the home mentor guide, we have infographic posters, and we have videos. So let's look at each of these in turn. We're going to start with the teacher guide. So this guide features 12 sessions, so 12 full-fledged session plans for a 90-minute session. Now you can also break these apart and do 24 45-minute sessions. And so the lesson plan actually shows you where to break it apart if that's something you choose to do. We also included, not only in the teacher's guide, but in every piece, a glossary of faith terms that we use throughout the curriculum. It's often that we get to confirmation and we realize, oh, I don't really know what some of these terms that we use all the time really mean. So this is a good time to give a reminder to not only ourselves, but to also the folks leading and to, in some cases, parents and mentors and caregivers, so that we all are on the same page as we're using a lot of faith vocabulary, maybe for some of us for the very first time. The other thing we've included in the teacher's guide is 101 activities. Now these are not full-fledged session plans, like the ones I mentioned above. These are activities. And so you can use these to kind of help your confirmands and your youth kind of catch up if you notice there's an area where they're really lost. So these are just some activities that kind of cover some of your basics so that if you need to catch somebody up or if you need to catch up your class, you have the opportunity to do that. You'll also find that throughout this teacher's guide and throughout each session, there's going to be a lot of connections to the big journal. There's going to be activities where the youth are asked to do something based on an activity in their journal, and that's where they're going to carry out that activity that you describe. So the big journals really play an intricate role with the teacher's guide. So let's talk about what each session plan looks like. So you have your Getting Started section, and this is an opportunity for each confirmand and for you as the leader to kind of get to know everybody. And if you have mentors or other folks present in your classroom, like we hope you do, then this is a great way for everybody to make sure they know each other before you start with your session. Then you're going to open with prayer, and after that you're going to study the Bible. Then you're going to watch a video, and after that you get to explore the church, as it's called. But what you're really doing here is, as you're looking at these different pieces of all of these questions that were asked when we joined the church, and you're getting to this section, what you're really asking is, how does our church do this question? How do we answer this question for our church? How do we carry it out? How do we live out this part of our faith? So I really love this section. The next section is, how do I fit? So it's asking, okay, if this is what our church does and this is what this means, what does that mean for me? How do I kind of fit into that? What should I do next? The section after that is, so what, now what? So why should I care and why does it matter? And so this section really spends time going into the why and why it's important for not only you, but for our congregation and ultimately for everyone, because we're all connected in community. The final thing you're going to do every session is close with a time of worship. And I love this section of the curriculum because they've been very creative with the different ways that they want you to close. Sometimes you're using an activity that you did earlier. Sometimes you're just having a brief moment to pray. One of my kids' favorites was the Mad Lib word prayer that we did, where they actually had to fill in a prayer that was a Mad Lib, and they really enjoyed that. So I hope you enjoy the different ways that this curricula really comes alive for the confirmands. Now I want to talk about the Big Journal. So the Big Journal is kind of a doodly notebook, and it's a bound book, and it's for each confirmand has their own. And so this is a place for them to not only do the activities that we mentioned in the teacher's guide, but also for them to kind of chronicle their whole confirmation journey. This is a big step in your faith, and so it's important to kind of be able to look back and reflect on where your mind was and where your heart was as you went through this transformation. And so in this journal, there's a lot of white space, there's not a lot of lines, there's like almost no lines at all. Lots of graphics and ways for the kids to engage. It's meant to be written and doodled and drawn and, written in. There's a place for notes, there's a place for private reflections and a weekly check-in on how do I feel about this confirmation thing? Am I okay with it? Am I like, I don't know? There's a place where I can write down my questions, and also a place where I can look ahead to the next section. Now let's talk about the Home Mentor Guide. So this guide is actually meant for your parents of each confirmand or their caregivers and your mentors. So that means that for each confirmand you have, you'll want 2 of these guides, one that's going home to their sort of family unit and one that's going to their mentor, because this does have a mentor program. And so this gives your mentors some ideas of things they can do outside of each session. And it really just does a great job of providing ways that you can connect faith into the real world through different kinds of activities that your mentors can do with their confirmands or that parents and caregivers can do with their confirmands. So great way to enrich what's happening outside of your sort of classroom space, so to speak. Moving on to the infographic posters. I love these. They are fantastic visual learning aids that really help break down complicated and complex concepts in a way that make it very easy to understand. I really feel like they add a lot to this curriculum, and I found myself using them in lots of different settings, not just during confirmation. But these posters show all kinds of things. Things like the books of the Bible and how they're grouped together, how the Bible is more like a library as opposed to a single book, information about the Gospels and their similarities and differences, different theological themes such as the sacraments, posters that kind of look at taking apart the Apostles' Creed and the Lord's Prayer so that we can better understand those things that we say very often in our worship services. So these are fantastic learning aids, and they really enhance each of the sessions, and you'll find them really helpful as you're talking about some of these different concepts and stories and things in the curriculum. Finally, we have some videos for folks to watch, and these really show the depth and the breadth of the entire denomination, the PCUSA. This kind of gives you an idea of how confirmation becomes this catalyst for the next steps in your faith, and how as you have the opportunity to do more in life and do things outside your context, how that can really shape your faith, but how it kind of starts, it gets its start here in the kinds of questions and things we're asking and think about in our confirmation time. So this concludes what you need to know about Big God, Big Questions. You can learn more by visiting our website, www.pcusastore.com/BGBQ. You can download a sample session there. We've got some guides, free guides as well. You can watch one of the videos, an excerpt from one of those. A lot of helpful things that you can find on our website if you want to learn more about this curriculum. If you want to support what we do on this channel, feel free to subscribe and hit the bell notification. And that way you'll know when we post new videos about this resource or other kinds of resources that you may find helpful in your congregation. So finally, I want to say thank you for watching, and God be with you.